don't hesitate to ask them to expound on it. So with that, we'll start off with me asking you to tell us about yourself and to highlight key areas of your career, of your experience that show you have the competencies that demonstrate you are the suitable candidate to be a member of IEBC.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Rose Mubua Musyoka from Makueni County. I am a wife and a mother, and I hold the following academic and professional qualifications. PhD in Public Policy, specializing in land, obtained from the University of Birmingham in UK in the year 2006. I also have a Master's in Arts, Masters of Arts in Planning, a Masters of Arts in Philosophy, a Bachelor of Arts, all from the University of Nairobi. I also have a postgraduate diploma in slum upgrading, obtained from the Institute for Housing and Urban Studies, Erasmus University in the Netherlands. Besides those qualifications, I have attended short courses in different areas, including corporate governance and transformative leadership. Currently, I am a lecturer at the University of Nairobi, in the Department of Urban and Regional Planning, where I teach, I supervise students, I mentor them, and carry out research. Besides teaching, I have some administrative responsibilities, which include representing the department at the school board, at the School of the Built Environment Postgraduate Committee, and I am the patron of the Planning Students Association. Before returning to the university in 2019, I worked at the inaugural National Land Commission for 6 years. That is from February 2013 to February 2019. At the commission, I had the following responsibilities. First and foremost, establishing the commission. We started from, my colleagues and I started from zero because we were the inaugural team. So we started by establishing the organization, coming up with the organogram, putting in the structures in collaboration with key stakeholders such as the Public Service Commission, non-state actors, and others. So we developed the key structures, including the organogram guided by the mandate of the commission, after which we recruited key staff, the senior staff, to start off the commission. I had various responsibilities as a commissioner. One, I chaired the land use committee of the commission, which developed a monitoring framework to facilitate execution of the mandate of the commission on monitoring and oversight of land use planning throughout the country. Secondly, I was a member of other committees in the commission. The review of grants and dispositions on public land, which recovered thousands of acres of public land that had been illegally privatized. Just to mention a few. As a team, we recovered over 500,000 acres in Lamu County. We recovered forests, Karura, Kibwezi, and others. We recovered public housing across the country in all the major towns. We recovered riparian land, much of it in Kisii County, in Nairobi, and other places. We also recovered school land. Kakamega Primary School in Kakamega County is a beneficiary of that, and many other schools. I was a member of HR committee of the commission. And that committee developed the HR policy, which provided guidance on how the staff are supposed to conduct themselves. I was a member of the Committee on Land Acquisition and Compensation, which delivered land for public projects, including the SGR, the LAPSET, the dams, and many others. I was also a member of the Committee on Land Administration, which used to look at land administration issues across the country. I was in charge of 5 counties, because what we did is that we took the 47 counties and we shared them again amongst ourselves. And I was given 5 to serve as a reference commissioner for the purpose of effective service delivery, so that any land issues, any issues arising from those counties, I would be the first person to know about them, then escalate the same to the commission. Now, all these responsibilities, all those activities we carried out, gave me an exposure to interact with the public. The review of grants entailed members of the public appearing before the commission, talking, making presentations, and interacting with them. The same applies to all the other activities that I participated in, including the one of acquisition of land for public use. And so that experience I gained of interacting with the public, handling the public, is useful for IEBC, because IEBC is a public body and it also interacts with the public. After the commission term ended, I returned to the university. But before going to the university initially, I moved from the Ministry of Lands, where I worked as a physical planning officer for slightly over 18 years. And as a planner, as a public planner, again, I served the public. My key responsibilities included representing the Office of Physical Planning at the Land Control Board, advising the then local authorities on planning matters, advising the public on planning, participating in dispute resolution of land-related disputes arising from land. I did in the Physical Planning Liaison Committee, where I represented the Department of Planning. I also prepared physical development plans for guiding development, physical development, and participated in the implementation of the same. I prepared project reports, updated those plans, and so all those activities gave me exposure to working in the public sector, which experience is relevant for IEBC. Before going before joining the ministry, I had worked, before joining the university, I had worked as an untrained teacher for about a year before joining the University of Nairobi, and also done the then pre-university training at the National Youth Service for 3 months. All those experiences have prepared me for the public work sector. And IEBC is one of those public agencies.
Daktari,
Yes.
You're done?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Allow me to ask you if you are a registered voter.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for that question. Yes, I am.
Mm-hmm. Where did you vote in the last election?
I voted at Zweni Primary School Police Station.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank you so much. I will now request Mr. Morris Kimuli to ask you a few questions.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Daktari, I will just ask you a few questions. Maybe because of your area of expertise, I just begin with a general question. How big is Kenya?
It's slightly above 5,000 square kilometers.
Are you sure about that, Daktari? You are in charge of you are in the National Lands Commission, and you deal with the land in Kenya, and you are also a land economist?
No, a land planner.
A land planner.
A land planner.
Okay. That's all right. So, since you worked as a commissioner with the National Lands Commission for 6 years, do you think from where you sit that you, as a commission, collectively and individually, you gratified the task that Kenyans gave you and the reasons why the commission was established under the Constitution? Do you think in the 6 years you did what you needed to do?
Thank you, Mr. Kimuli, for that question. Yes, we did. My position is that we satisfied. We did what we were supposed to have done. The commission has a clear mandate, which initially was very broad, and having started from ground zero, established the organization and left it running, I want to state that we did what we were expected to do. But we could not finish, we could not exhaust the mandate. Some of it had timelines, and some of it is kind of permanent, it's continuous.
Okay, you served at the NLC, the commission, for 6 years.
Yes.
Do you think you qualify again to be appointed a commissioner with the National Lands Commission, since you say there is still some work left to do?
I wouldn't qualify because the law allows a single 6-year term of service.
And do you believe if someone is not qualified to join a commission, for whatever reason,
yes,
to join an independent commission, that person can be qualified to join another independent commission? Do you think?
Yes, that person can be qualified because it only applies. The restriction is with respect to the commission where somebody has already served. For instance, in my case,
no, I get that.
I could not qualify.
Yes. So if you have served in an exemplary manner,
yes,
you know, Waswahili wanasema mcheza kwao utuzwa. You served in an exemplary manner. Why do you think the law would bar people who have served with dedication, integrity, in an exemplary manner from going again, seeking an opportunity to serve again?
Thank you. Thank you for that question, Mr. Kimuli. This is because 6 years, a 6-year period is long enough for someone to implement the ideas, the key ideas that they have on that institution. Beyond there, one might not be useful, really.
One might not be useful.
Yeah.
So, you said in your documents that you were in charge of 5 counties?
Yes, I was the
Which counties were these?
Mombasa, Samburu, Bomet, Makueni, and Machakos.
Now, you know that there is a link between electoral violence and land disputes, and particularly historical land injustices. Is that so?
Yes.
You know that that is one of the issues that was flagged out by IREC, the Kriegler Commission.
Yes.
And you have said in your papers that one of your deliverables was to investigate and deal with historical land injustices, which have been exploited by opportunists and politicians every election cycle to get people. You know, people in Kenya, fight for food, they fight for love, they fight for land, and they fight during elections. So what did you do to deal with that problem that is directly associated with our electoral system?
Thank you, Mr. Kimuli, for that question. Yes, I participated in investigation investigation of historical land injustices. And the law allowed us, because we worked as a team, it was a committee where I was a member, the law allowed us to investigate and make recommendations. And we did that across the country because we sent out a notice requesting people to submit their cases. And in each case, because each case was handled on its own merit, in some of the cases, we would recommend redress by way of, if it is a community that may have suffered economically.
No, I'm just asking,
Yes.
Is there one achievement in redressing historical injustices that is linked to electoral violence that you can say our commission achieved in the 6 years we were there?
Let me say that most of the cases that we handled bordering on historical land injustices, we made recommendations. And it is not clear whether those recommendations have been implemented. It is only after they are implemented that I can say with certainty that we adjudicated this matter in such and such a place, and it has been resolved.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I understand that. Pardon me for asking this. Are you a Christian?
Yes, I am.
Now, somewhere in the Bible it says, God says, I will follow my word to perform it. Now, if you are a commissioner,
Yes.
and you recommend policy, don't you have the duty to follow your word and ensure it has been implemented? You are an independent commission, fully financed by the government, facilitated, security of tenure, you can't be removed, you can't be picked with saliva like a fly. Don't you think you have the duty to follow your recommendations and ascertain whether they have been implemented?
Yes, I do.
But you're saying that
Yes, I
you are not
do.
sure whether those recommendations you made were implemented.
Yes, but please let me explain why I have said I'm not sure. Because we did those investigations at the tail end of our term. There had been a delay in getting the law in place. So that is one of the mandates that we did at the tail end of our term in the commission.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's
Thank you.
why.
Well, it's in the public domain.
But,
Yes.
sorry, but I'm aware of some matter that we settled in Mombasa, that the public beaches, the access to those beaches. That is something we did and implemented immediately because it was within the powers of the commission.
Thank you.
Yeah, but these others, we recommended other agencies.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is in the public domain that at the formative stages of your commission, there was a lot of friction with the national government, and you took a lot of time to settle in. It's also in the public domain that the commission you served was afflicted by allegations of corruption, inefficiency, and ethical misconduct. And these matters went to court. I don't want you to delve into that. But with that baggage that afflicted the National Lands Commission, there is an argument that there's something called institutional culture. Do you think that somebody coming from such a commission would transpose that institutional culture to a commission as critical as the Electoral Commission?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Mr. Kimuli, for the question. First, I want to respond as follows. With respect to the noise, I want to state that the National Land Commission, the key mandate of that commission is to drive the land reform agenda in the country. And reforms are not easy to implement because they come with new ways of doing things as opposed to what people have been used to for many years. So some of the noise emanated from just reaction to implementation of this land reform by the Commission.
Okay.
And misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And with the time, if you followed, with the time that came to an end, and the silence, and we even worked together. By the time our term ended, we were doing joint projects with the ministry. Scroll tightly, it's one of them.
Okay, because you have this area of expertise in urban planning, when you look at our constitution,
sorry.
Article 89.
Mr. Kimuli.
Yes.
I hadn't finished responding.
Yeah, just finish because
we
were out of time and you see Chair's notification.
You have raised. Yeah, the issue of corruption, those allegations also arose towards the end of our term. And I want to state that corruption is like sin, and it is not transferable. Neither is it collective. The decisions that the Commission made were made as a commission, by the Commission in quorum. And the Commission provided policy guidance in all its activities.
No, that's okay.
So if somebody decided
to
go outside of that, the practice in the Commission was that all staff would have to take responsibility for their work, for their decisions, for their actions.
Yeah, that's okay. I know one of my colleagues.
It's unfortunate that some of my former colleagues got caught up in these allegations.
Yeah, I know one of my colleagues will ask you about collective responsibility as commissioners. But just one last question. I was referring you, because our time is up, I was referring you to the question of delimitation. The Constitution says one of the considerations IEBC will have is geographical features and urban centers, that the Commission in delimiting boundaries should take into account urban centers. What do you think that means and implies? Very briefly.
Geographical features and urban centers.
I'm talking about urban centers, because you are an urban planner.
Yes.
What does the Constitution, what does the Constitution imply when it talks about urban centers as a consideration while delimiting boundaries?
It refers to urban centers as those human settlements that have at least 2,000 population, 2,000 people.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
And the pattern of settlement in urban centers, of course, is different from areas that are not urban. And so they are taken into account because they themselves, as they are, have that high population as compared to the areas that are not urban, because those will have a sparse population.
Okay, so can you have a boundary of an electoral unit running through the middle of a town? So that one side of the town is another constituency, the other side is another constituency.
No, that would present challenges of managing the urban area, the urban center.
Okay, thank you very much, Daktari. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kimuli. I'll now request Dr. F.S. Abdallah to ask you a few questions.
Thank you, Dr. Musyoka. As you're told, this is a conversation. And just to give you a thumbs up, it's Kenya is 580,367 square kilometers. My fellow panelist was asking you. So bigger, 580,367, 224 square miles, 224,000, right? Mine. Dr. Musyoka, please briefly explain to this panel how you would go about evaluating the performance of this commission, the IEBC commission, right? You have had this good experience in other commissions. How would you, in your opinion, evaluate the commission, the IEBC? What methods and means?
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah, for that question. Evaluation is done using various methods.
Right.
One is assessing the indicators of performance, how the Commission has performed in its various activities. For instance, IEBC has the responsibility of doing voter education. To evaluate its performance in that function, one would require to determine the extent to which voters are informed about voting, the extent to which the Commission has reached those people that need to be educated on voting.
So what method, Doctor, are you going to do, yeah? You see, one method which you can assess the performance of various aspects is to have an internal audit. Are we together? Are we in agreement?
There are key areas.
Right.
Key areas of performance.
That will come under governance audit.
Yes.
Right. So what would you look in the governance audit? What would you like to find out? You know, you are new, you've come in and here you are. You've come on, you've met people who've been there before, knows the system more than you. But of course, now you're told, okay, you want to know for self-sufficiency that how has been the performance? Like the way you have chaired some other internal, you've done your own assessments in the planning and all that, yeah? So
yes,
that is your experience. Now you're changing but the basics of corporate governance is the same, right?
Yeah, in all those key performance areas, there are objectives. There are objectives and strategies and ways of achieving those objectives. And so the performance indicators would show the extent to which objectives have been achieved or not achieved.
Okay. Now, Doctor, as a commissioner, let's put it this way. As a commissioner, you'll be responsible for policy development and oversight. Please give this panel examples of policies you have implemented in your current or previous role, and the policies you will seek to implement the IEBC if you are appointed a commissioner?
Thank you for that question. One of the policies that we formulated and was implemented is the HR policy at National Land Commission. There was also the monitoring and oversight framework on land use planning, which is applied across the country. Then the policy on acquisition of land for public projects.
Okay. So you said you had done the human resources and monitoring. These are quite relevant to the IEBC. The land acquisition, of course, will not apply here. What do you pride yourself on this human resources formula which you did, the policies? Because IEBC could be having its own also, right?
Yes.
And the monetary units, right? Now, what would you like to be implemented at IEBC and why?
What I would like to be implemented at IEBC is effective performance of the various responsibilities, the various duties that the Commission is mandated to carry out. For instance, the voter registration. What seems to emerge from existing documentation and presentations by some people, some insider or maybe former insiders, is that much of the work seems to be left to be done very close to election time, and that generates pressure and stress. So for me, I would like to have the work well spread out within the election cycle, to avoid any pressure, any backlog, so that if it is registration, it is continuous, it is a daily activity, and it can also be made more effective by taking the service to the people instead of those who are doing it sitting in the office and waiting for the voters to go and register. There can be innovation to move to the people so that they increase the coverage.
You done?
So then, from Dr. On the education, on voter education, again, some innovative ways can be applied, targeting the electorate in its various categories: the youth, the women, the men. Yeah, and helping the voters link voting to development, election, voting, and development, so that so that voting is not seen as an end in itself, but a means of improving people's lives by electing the right people who can bring development, and development would mean improving lives for the electorate.
Okay, Doc.
For
Would you
instance,
allow
if
me
it's
to go
women-
on to the next one because it'll be covered there, right? From what I hear, Doc, is like, in your opinion, what I hear, maybe the SOPs and TORs could not be clear, or they are clear, but there is no cohesion in the working system, right?
Sorry, Dr. Abdallah, I didn't get that. Could you
I'm
please
saying,
repeat?
from your explanation, what you said, some of the things you need to settle is to see that people do this, the staff to do this. So they don't wait till the last minute
Yes.
for things to be done.
Yes.
If I interpret that, is of course there's no maybe the standard operation procedures are ignored or maybe not followed. Yeah. So that comes to, Madam, is good corporate governance is one of the areas actually suggested by the IEBC themselves requires strengthening according to the Commission strategic plan. It's there, it's stated, it's on paper.
Yes.
Now, what do you understand by by corporate governance, right? And two, how would you seek to strengthen the same if you are successful?
Thank you, Dr. Abdallah, for that question. Corporate governance is a system of governance that provides the direction in which work is to be done. It draws lines between the various levels of an organization so that, for instance, if it is IEBC, which is a commission, it clearly spells out the duties, the responsibilities of the commission, the commissioners as a team, what they're supposed to do towards execution of the mandate of IEB's mandate. And then it provides, and in this regard, it provides that the commission's responsibility is formulation of policies and strategies. And then it goes further to provide that implementation of these policies and strategies is to be done by the management, headed by the commission secretary or CEO. So corporate governance draws a line, a boundary between those two levels so that there is no conflict.
Thank you, Doc.
And each level
creates the SOPs, standard working operations.
Sorry?
The standard working operations, SOPs.
Yes.
Comes from the corporate governance where people have to work together.
Yes.
Knowing each person's responsibility. Thank you, Doc, and all the best.
Thank you,
Chair.
Thank you so much, Dr. Abdallah. I'll now request Mr. Gideon Solonka to ask you some questions, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Musyoka. What is the mandate of the IEBC when it comes to election campaign financing?
Thank you for that question. But could you please clarify or maybe repeat the last bit of it?
The mandate of the IEBC regarding election campaign financing.
Election campaign financing. Yes, thank you for that question, Mr. Solonka. The IEBC is supposed to regulate the finances that are to be spent in an election, either by the candidates or their parties.
Okay.
And there's a law to that effect that is yet to be operationalized.
Okay. Thank you. What do you understand by the term public resource? Public resource.
Public resource is can be an asset owned by the public, belonging to the public. It could be held by the government in trust for all Kenyans as public.
Okay, so...
For instance,
Yes.
We have vehicles
Yeah.
owned by the government,
Okay.
and those are public resources.
Thank you. We also have premises owned by the government.
Yes.
Yes. Now, can an incumbent candidate, say for example, a governor, use public resources? They have their official vehicles. Can they use that vehicle to conduct their campaigns?
No. The law
Why?
does not allow them to use.
Why? Is the governor?
Because
Yes.
the campaign is not an official engagement. It's not an official duty for the, it's not serving
Okay.
the people of Kenya. It is to serve his interest as a candidate.
Thank you. You are a commissioner, and it's reported to you that Governor X was found using his official vehicle to conduct his campaigns. What are your powers under the law to deal with that situation?
The law provides for fine. It provides for fines. It also provides for disqualification of candidates when they misuse public resources. And so I would fall back on those.
Okay.
Yeah, on those two, and have them implemented.
Specifically, Section 107(3) of the Elections Act gives you power to impound that vehicle. You can order that the same be impounded, eh?
Yes, thank you. Yes, that is also another option.
Yes. Now, before any election is held, normally IEBC would allow parties and candidates, political parties, to do their nominations. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, what do you understand by the term clause of nominations?
The term, thank you for that question, Mr. Solonga. The term clause of nomination refers to the period, or rather to the date after which nominations cannot take place.
From what time?
It is after the nomination date, which is normally followed by the notice on election.
Okay, Daktari, it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon of the last nomination day for the respective elections. 4 o'clock, okay?
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
What is a polling station diary? Polling station diary.
A polling station diary
Yes.
is basically the activities
Yeah.
that the polling station, or rather that are supposed to be undertaken at the polling station.
Thank you. And what about an electoral number? What do you understand by that term? Electoral number.
Electoral number refers to it could refer to a number of voters.
A number?
Number of votes.
Uh-huh.
Number of votes.
Number of votes. In
Yeah.
what sense?
In terms of ballots,
Okay.
cast ballots.
Daktari, you're a voter, I'm a voter, and you have a number against your name. Okay? In the register of voters in your constituency. That number against your name is your electoral number.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and all the best.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solonka. I will now request Madam Elizabeth Mayo to ask you a few questions.
Okay, thank you, Chair. How are you, Rose? Dr. Rose Musyoka?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, Doctor, you just told
Madam
us
Mayo?
that. Okay. I can proceed?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You have told us you are a registered voter. Do you consider yourself a stakeholder to IEBC?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for that question. Yes, I do. I'm a stakeholder.
Oh, thank you. So, as a stakeholder, what are your expectations? What do you expect from IEBC?
My expectations are, 1, free and fair elections, free from violence, intimidation, and secret ballot, respect of privacy. Respect for privacy during voting. Credible electoral process from the beginning to the end.
Okay. Do you expect them to give you any information
Yes.
that might help you vote well?
Yes, I expect to be educated on voting.
Good.
And that education to be on time. For instance, by now, so far I have not seen any message with respect to next year's elections. And my expectation is that those messages should already have started.
So without the
Fine.
messages on next year's election, what goes in your mind?
Is that preparedness may not be effective, may not be good enough to deliver a credible election, because it means that those messages might start arriving or being sent out to the stakeholders very close to election. And some people might miss they may not participate in the election, and so they'll get disenfranchised because voting is a right enshrined in the Constitution. But for that right to be realized, there is a preparatory process which is supposed to be delivered effectively by IEBC.
Okay, thank you, Dr. What about the issue of transparency and accountability from the Commission?
Yes.
Do you expect that also?
Yes.
Why?
Because the Commission is accountable to the people of Kenya when it comes to elections. And for anything they do, and it is a public body, so it is supposed to be accountable to Kenyans in all its activities.
Okay, thank you, Dr. So what is your understanding of special interest groups?
Special interest groups are those segments of the population that have some uniqueness. They include women, they include people with disabilities, the youth, the elderly. Yeah, because these categories of people have some special needs that may not cut across the entire population.
Okay, thank you, Dr. So if you are appointed commissioner tomorrow after this process, would you consider them as your stakeholders?
Yes, they are stakeholders. They would be my stakeholders.
Okay, thank you. So what are the rights and responsibility of special interest groups in an election process that you, as a commissioner, you will expect from them? The rights and responsibilities.
Excuse me, Madam Mayor, is it their rights?
Their rights.
Their rights.
Yeah. What are their rights and responsibilities as in an electoral process?
Okay. Thank you, Mayor, for that question. One of the rights is that they have a right to vote. And for that right to be realized, they have to be facilitated if need be. For instance, for the people with the disabilities, depending on the type of disability, some may have challenges of mobility to the polling station. Others may be experiencing visual impairment, and they have to be assisted. So, depending on the nature of the challenge that one has, I would ensure that there are people to assist those voters, and I would also ensure that there's a framework within which these people can be reached so that they exercise their constitutional right of voting. For the other rights, there is a right of representation. One of the principles that IEBC is supposed to comply with is fair representation of people with a disability, and then, of course, representation of the youth and women.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Musyoka. You've told us about your expectation from IEBC. What about IEBC's expectation from the special interest groups? Maybe you can just tell us the key ones because of time.
The commission will expect the special interest groups to participate in the election, to participate in the voter education, to register as voters, because voting can only happen if somebody is registered as a voter.
That is all?
Also to offer themselves for election, to be elected to those elective positions, or even to be nominated.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Musyoki. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I'll now request the Vice Chair to ask you a few questions, Daktari.
Yeah, Dr. Musyoka, you mentioned that one of the things you did in the National Land Commission was to resolve disputes that had to do with the historical nature at the coast. Now, in doing this, you must have faced challenges. Could you just tell us what kind of challenges you faced and how you resolved those challenges?
Thank you, Vice Chair, for that question. Should I restrict myself to cost alone?
You can just generally.
Or generally?
Yeah, the kind of challenges you faced, and just briefly.
Okay, thank you.
And how you resolve those challenges. Yeah.
Thank you. One of the main challenges in resolving historical land injustices is the time these injustices have taken. These are injustices that were perpetrated over, in some cases, over 60, 70, 80 years ago. And so a lot has happened on the land, to the extent that restitution may not be feasible. Yet, the victims of these injustices are supposed to be compensated in some way. So in some of the instances, as a committee, we recommended a way of compensating those people, either for the state to get them alternative land, because the land that they lost is not recoverable because of what has happened to it over the years. So much has happened. Or even to have them given scholarships. In some instances, they would say that because of losing land, and land is a source of livelihood, they have not been able to educate their children. And so their children have been denied education. And in such instances, we would recommend affirmative action by way of giving them scholarships to educate their children, those communities. In some areas, we would also recommend development of infrastructure where people have been marginalized in terms of development. We would recommend that a deliberate action be made to provide infrastructure in terms of education facilities, health facilities, and even the communication ones, transportation ones, the roads and all that. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Musyoka. Now you mentioned that you are a mother. and
Yes.
maybe you're a mother to teenagers, possibly. What's your vision for this country in terms of electoral democracy, in terms of governance? What kind of Kenya do you want your youth to grow in?
Thank you for that question, Vice Chair. My vision of Kenya is one that allows the youth to develop, knowing that there are many good things they can do for this country, as opposed to being misused during elections. Sometimes they are misused so that they cause violence, and some lose their lives. The many fights that break out when there is a dissatisfaction with the outcome of the election, most of the perpetrators are the youth. So I would like to see a Kenya that doesn't cast the youth as though they were some tools of violence, but as people who can make positive contribution to this country. Most of the youth are very innovative. They have come up with very innovative ideas, which is very positive for this country. And so that is the kind of vision I have for Kenya with respect to the youth.
Thank you. Finally, Dr. Musyoka, how do you implement that vision if you are to become a commissioner? How would you make that happen?
Thank you for that question. I would implement this vision through the voter education framework. Just talking to the youth and making them understand that the expectations of Kenyans of them are that they should engage in positive activities. They should not be misused. So that engagement, continuous engagement with the youth, to bring out their importance and how they can contribute to this country, would change the perception of some of them who, during elections, are easily misused.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I'll now request Reverend Father Mutie to ask you a few questions, Daktari.
Thank you, Chair. Dr. Musyoka, allow me to do two follow-up questions from a discourse that you held earlier with one of the panelists. During your term as a commissioner in the Land Commission, there were allegations of corruption. In fact, we saw some kind of arrests made. Mm-hmm. Monies were found in people's houses. Mm-hmm. And if I can clearly state what you said, these were just but noises.
Sorry, Father, I didn't hear that
you
last.
You said,
yes,
these were noises. Are you sure these were just but noises?
Thank you. Thank you, Father, for that question. But maybe there was a mix-up, because the noises, I attributed the noises to the implementation of land reform, the new laws. Yeah, but with respect to the corruption, I said that it is unfortunate that some of my former colleagues got caught up in these corruption issues. Of course, it is not a good thing. And I want to add and repeat that sin is not transferable.
Thank you.
And so having provided policy direction in all the activities of the commission, if somebody decided to do things outside that, then of course there's a system of dealing with that.
So,
and I want to add, that at NLC, we made it very clear and agreed with the staff, those technical staff, that they must take responsibility for their work.
so now, Dr. Musyoka, allow me just to ask a general, what were your thoughts then when all this was happening as a commissioner?
When this happened, I learned about these corruption allegations through the media. And I must say that I was disappointed. I didn't feel good about it because that is a dent. It's a negative thing. Since these are not things that were presented to the commission, we could only know about them through the media, unless one is involved. So for me, I learned through the media about these corruption allegations, and my first thought was that investigations should be carried out to determine who did what and why.
Dr. I'm looking at, as a commissioner, you are not alone in that commission. You
Yes.
are a team.
Yes,
Sometimes as a team, you take collective responsibility. This was a public office,
yes.
and all this was happening, and everybody was crying out there. Did at any moment, in your own way of thinking, did it come into your mind that you could resign?
Thank you, Father Mutie, for that question. That did not come to my mind. Resigning did not come to my mind. Why? Because in executing the mandate of the commission, all the resolutions that were made by the commission were made by the commission in quorum, not by individuals. And the expectation of the commission was that all work, all the activities of the commission would be done within the law, because there is law governing all those activities, and there was policy direction. So if somebody decided to do things under the table or elsewhere outside the, above board, one cannot drag the commission into that. You see, if these were commission issues or matters, they ought to have been presented to the commission and discussed. But that never happened. So we just saw in the media, and some of the issues are in court. They are active cases, and I'm even a state witness. in some of these cases.
Dr. Musyoka,
Yes, Father.
You've given an opportunity to join IEBC as a commissioner. What are some of the lessons that you learned through such experiences? What are the lessons that you're going to bring to IEBC, which you learned through those experiences?
One of the lessons is to adhere to the rule of law, to always operate within the law. And that is one of the core values of IEBC. Nothing should be left to discretion, because the law provides direction on what to do and when. The other lesson is that is good communication and reporting about the activities of the Commission. At the NLC, we did a lot of work. And I'm not praising myself. I'm not saying so to praise the Commission because I was a commissioner there. We did a lot of work. But when it came to communication, to reporting to Kenyans, what we were doing, what we had achieved, we didn't do very well there. And for IEBC, whose mandate is very sensitive, just like land, I would expect very good communication, timely communication about what is happening, what the stakeholders are supposed to do and when, and the achievements, what has been finalized. Because I've heard people say, though not officially, there's this common feeling that IEBC is always idle. In 5 years, they just work for like 3 months towards election time. You see, that is a perception that needs to be changed. And it can only be changed by IEBC communicating about the activities, when they are doing them, what they have completed, and how they are moving forward, so that the members of public, the stakeholders, are kept, on their toes. They are kept in the knowledge of the activities of the Commission.
Thank you, Dr. Ross. Allow me to finally ask you, I saw you are a member of the Council of Persons with Disability.
Yes, I am.
Given an opportunity to serve as a commissioner at IEBC, what issues would you champion for the people with disability?
Thank you, Father, for that question. One, I would champion accessibility of venues. This is an area where, or rather, which tends to exclude people with a disability from certain activities. When I was at NLC, I was invited to speak in some forum. And I expected that that function would be in a universally accessible venue, So I didn't ask them about the location until I arrived there and I found that I could not access it. And I had to leave without participating. So access to venues is very important. Also, provision of those facilities that are used by people with disability, be they washrooms, it is important so that they are made to feel comfortable wherever they are. I have this experience of going to some functions and I have to leave before the end. On realizing that the place is not disability compliant, there is no washroom I can use.